Hey, Nick Nack, how you doing? Double A Anthony Alfred here, and that's Channing Frye uh, as well. Um, wanted to, I know we were supposed to do a phone call, or at least meet. I know, but our schedules, like this is a very busy time, so. But I wanted to answer the questions in video form, so at least you can kind of get a feel. Thank you for the questions. I'll try to answer them as best as I can, and hopefully, this video will send um, afterwards. So let me go through it. You had some great questions, so I'll answer them as best as possible, and I guess as quick as possible as well. Um, so, what made me choose this career field? I have to say, radio, a lot of it for me. So, I'll give you a quick backstory. Born and raised in Cleveland, Maple Heights, and my family, especially on my dad's side, loves sports. We're all loyal to Cleveland sports, that kind of thing. But I always I'm a nerd when it comes to media. And knowing the history of broadcasting and the broadcasting medium, whether it's TV, radio, things like that. And I wanted to be involved with this. And to me, this is not work. So, I say this story all the time. 8, 9, 10 years old, while my buddies and friends were listening to ZAK and 1079, my dad would have the radio half the time on talk radio. On TAM, on 850 WKNR, the sports station. And 8, 9, 10 years old me is like, I ain't trying to listen to talk radio. There's supposed to be music coming out of this radio. But this is what I wanted to do. Be involved with radio. I actually wanted to do sports play-by-play, but as I went on throughout my career, turned out, hey, talk radio is kind of the way to go right now. Who knows where my career will go from here, but it's the way to go. So, my love, my passion for broadcasting in this business, that's what made me choose this field. You gotta love it, because you can do it for the fame, but you don't do it for the money. Do it for the fame. Do it for the love, the passion. That's really what it's about. So what is a typical day as a radio broadcaster, job duties? Oh, that changes by the day. All right, so today, so I host and I also produce. My day-to-day job is producing here at WTAM. I also host a talk show on Sunday nights, 7 to 9. Say news talk, politics, sports, the whole nine. We cover it. Basically, our format here, think of a newspaper. You have the front page news, you have the Metro section, which has a lot of your local stories, and then sports. We're news talk and sports. So for me, my day started here at about 3 o'clock. I screen calls for our afternoon show, the Mike Trevisano show. We screened those calls for that. If their producer's not in, I fill in and produce and run the board. Then after the afternoon show, I actually took over the board. I'll show you real quick. And this is our board. A lot of buttons there, but you'll quickly learn if you ever get into this business, like be employed, you will learn quickly that if you could break all of this down into the 4 buttons that you absolutely need at any given time, you'll be fine. So that was, that's what I had to get over. But had to produce our Indians coverage, so we did the pregame show. So I called the guest, ran the pregame show, so it's the different elements. They're sponsored, so we have to hit all the sponsored elements, otherwise I'm in trouble. So we do that. And then today, the Indians game, had a rain delay. So I'm running the rain delay. So we have a host in there. We had a host. So I'm producing the rain delay coverage. Rain delays are not really fun because at that point we have to move commercials. And when you have to move commercials, you have to type up the commercials that you moved. And those commercials, it takes a lot. It takes a minute. But do that and run a radio program and keep your ear out on when to go back to the Indians network, because that's a separate feed, to go to our network, get the game on, and then I have to submit the commercials that I moved to what we call the traffic department and our program director. If they don't get those, my morning becomes a lot longer. Actually, there was a time when I first started this job where I flat out did not send an email. Like, I did it and I didn't hit send. And when I was teaching at OMS at the time, I actually had to step out of my class and take that call. There were calls that I didn't have to take immediately. When you get a phone call at 9:30 in the morning about a commercial not airing, there ain't no waiting. You pick up that call because somebody is in trouble. So, but that's usually the job duties. Show days is a little bit different. So during the week, I prep stories. I kind of look at the stories throughout the week that kind of fits the demo. So I look at it that way. My show's a little bit different. So this is a conservative news talk station. My slot was a Sunday night, 7 o'clock slot. Has to go a little bit against the grain. So while most talk show hosts here support Donald Trump, I don't. I have to kind of present that, plus some of the other topics as well. But I have to have stories to back that up. And also we do sports. So I have to have things backed up, ready to go. So show prep, that's all week. And then the day of, I usually get in about 2 hours before the show and kind of get my rundown together. And I try to get sound and get it into a folder that I have here and get that going. So we usually, I'll show you real quick, we usually have a folder. These are different folders and stuff. So I try to get a folder going and go from there. If I'm organized, I kind of operate and stuff. So that's usually the day. And then at the end of the day, you podcast the show. Because if you do it live, but then you don't podcast the show, how can anybody hear you other than when it's live? So that's the cool thing here. We podcast full shows. All right. What skills, abilities, and training do you have in this field? Skills, things you put on the resume, Microsoft Office, the ability to type without typos, that kind of thing. As far as skills, a lot of times they're going to be like, okay, what kind of automation program do you use? At OMS, I believe it's still Sam Broadcaster, so that's the start. Sam Broadcaster, you kind of use that program. Here we have a program called NextGen, which is another automation program. Actually, we're going to switch automation programs this year because we're moving to a different studio in downtown. So we're going to switch automation programs and go from there. So I have to learn that. But the ability to learn on the fly, that's, excuse me, that's big. Being able to run a board and do a talk show, that is huge. That is huge. A lot of places, you got to know both. And you got to know both, and sometimes you have to multitask and do both. I had a stretch of shows last year during the pandemic where I ran my own board, hosted the talk show, screened my own calls, and produced the show itself. So even though it's TAM, the principles are still the same. If you're handling your business at North Coast or 216 The Movement or All Sports, okay, you got to do those things anyway. The fundamentals don't change. So that's where the training comes in. And I had a student show in the past where I had to do all of those things. And as far as education and training, did a little bit of broadcasting stuff at Bowling Green. I kind of got scared. That's why I got away from it at BG. You know, after BG, I was like, what am I gonna do? There's not a worse feeling than walking the stage and you say, what am I gonna do? And I applied at then Ohio Center for Broadcasting. It changed to OMS while I was there, and did all the student shows. I wanted to get into sports, but also did some North Coast stuff too, and the whole nine. The other part of training, I actually worked the microphone at Cedar Point when I worked there. There was a game there called Plinko, and when I did that game, you know, it wasn't just, hey, get the chips, drop it, you know, you win prizes. I had to attract people to come and play. So they gave me a headset with a microphone. And, you know, I'm like, front of line. It was just epic. You draw an audience. You make money. Sales. You know, and go from there. Training. Anytime you touch a microphone in any form of life, whether it's Cedar Point job that I had or any drive-through employee at a fast food restaurant, you know, they have to project their voice so that the customers understand what they're saying. That's broadcasting. That's all of that. All right. Part 2, I'm going to end this here so I can send this video. This is almost 12 minutes, and I'll answer the rest of the questions.